Captain Jiho Kim gripped the controls of his cargo ship as red warning lights flashed all around him. The Midnight Runner was shaking badly. Something was very wrong with the engines. Black smoke filled the small cockpit, and the smell of burning metal made him cough. "Come on, old girl," Jiho said to his ship. "Just hold together a little longer." He had been flying cargo runs for 5 years. Medical supplies, food, tools, whatever people needed on the outer colonies. It was not exciting work, but it paid well. Today he was carrying medicine to a small mining planet. The people there were counting on him. But now his ship was dying around him. The engine readings were all bad. Very bad. The main drive was overheating. The backup systems were failing one by one. Jiho tried everything he could think of. He shut down non-essential systems. He rerouted power. He even hit the control panel with his fist, hoping it might help. Nothing worked. Warning. Engine failure. Imminent. Seek immediate landing zone. The ship's computer said in its calm voice. Jiho looked at his star charts. He was in the middle of nowhere. No colonies, no space stations, no help. Just empty space and a few unknown star systems that had never been explored. Wait, there was something. A single planet in a nearby system. The long-range scanner showed it had air and water. It would have to do. Jiho changed course toward the unknown planet. The ship groaned and shuddered. Pieces of metal fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. He could feel the ship getting harder to control with each passing minute. The planet grew larger in his view screen. It looked beautiful from space. Mostly green and blue with white clouds swirling around it. 2 small moons hung in the purple sky. It looked peaceful. Safe. But getting there alive was another matter. The ship's hull was heating up as they entered the atmosphere. Jiho strapped himself tight into his pilot seat. His hands moved over the controls, trying to keep the ship steady. The computer was shouting warnings about hull stress and system failures. Through the smoke and noise, Jiho saw the surface rushing up at him. There were strange forests below. The trees looked like they were made of crystal, catching and reflecting the light of the system's orange sun. He had never seen anything like it. He needed a flat place to land, somewhere soft. There, a clearing near a group of the crystal trees. It would have to do. The ship hit the ground hard. Jiho's teeth rattled. His safety straps cut into his shoulders. The ship bounced once, twice, then slid across the alien soil for what felt like forever. Finally, it came to a stop. Everything was quiet except for the hiss of escaping gas and the tick-tick-tick of cooling metal. Jiho sat still for a moment, hardly believing he was alive. Then he unbuckled his straps and stood up on shaky legs. He did a quick check of himself. A few bruises, but nothing broken. Lucky. He looked around the damaged cockpit. Most of the control panels were dark. The communication system was completely destroyed. The navigation computer was making sad beeping sounds before going silent forever. Jiho sighed. He was alive, but he was also completely stranded on an unknown planet with no way to call for help. He put on his environment suit and opened the ship's door. The air outside was breathable according to his scanners, but he wanted to be safe. He stepped out onto the alien ground. The first thing he noticed was how quiet everything was. No birds, no insects. Just a gentle wind moving through the crystal trees. The second thing he noticed was how beautiful it all was. The crystal trees caught the orange sunlight and threw rainbows everywhere. The ground was covered in soft purple grass. Strange flowers grew between the trees, glowing softly with their own light. It was like stepping into a fairy tale. Jiho walked around his ship, checking the damage. It was bad. Very bad. The main engine was completely destroyed. The hull was cracked in several places. The landing gear was twisted and broken. Even if he could somehow fix the engine, the ship would never fly again. He was stuck here until someone came looking for him. That could be weeks, maybe months. Jiho went back inside the ship and gathered supplies. Food, water, a sleeping bag, some basic tools. He also grabbed his emergency beacon. though he doubted it would work with the communication system destroyed. As the orange sun began to set, the alien world became even more beautiful. The crystal trees glowed with soft, inner light. The flowers became brighter. Even the purple grass seemed to shimmer. The two moons rose into the darkening sky, casting everything in silver light. Jiho set up a small camp next to his ship. He ate some emergency rations and drank recycled water from his suit's supply. It was not a fancy dinner, but it would keep him alive. As he sat beside his broken ship, Jiho looked up at the alien stars. They were arranged in patterns he did not recognize. He was farther from home than any human had ever been. The thought should have scared him, but instead he felt oddly peaceful. The air was warm and sweet. A gentle breeze carried the scent of the glowing flowers. In the distance he could hear the soft sound of running water, maybe a stream or river. Jiho spread his sleeping bag on the soft grass right next to the ship's hull. The metal was still warm from the crash landing. He lay down and looked up at the two moons. They seemed to be dancing around each other in the purple sky. He was tired, more tired than he had ever been. The stress of the crash, the fear, the relief of being alive. It all hit him at once. His eyes grew heavy. As sleep took him, tiny lights began to drift down from the crystal trees. They looked like glowing snowflakes, but they were warm to the touch. They settled on his sleeping form like a gentle blanket. Jiho did not notice them. He was already deep in peaceful sleep, dreaming of home and wondering if he would ever see Earth again. The glowing particles covered him completely, sinking into his clothes and skin. They pulsed with soft light and rhythm with his breathing. The crystal trees seemed to lean closer, as if watching over the sleeping human. Something important was happening, but Jiho slept on, unaware that his life was about to change in ways he could never imagine. Jiho woke up slowly, feeling more rested than he had in years. The warm orange sunlight felt good on his face. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he remembered the crash, the strange planet, the crystal trees. He opened his eyes and nearly jumped out of his skin. Hundreds of tall, graceful beings surrounded him. They were all on their knees with their faces pressed to the ground. None of them moved. None of them made a sound. They just knelt there in perfect silence, like statues. Jiho sat up quickly, his heart pounding. The aliens were unlike anything he had ever seen. They were taller than humans, maybe 7 feet tall, with long, slender limbs. Their skin was pale and seemed to glow softly, changing colors like oil on water. Instead of hair, they had long, flowing tendrils that moved gently even when there was no wind. They were beautiful, and they were terrifying. "Hello?" Jiho called out, his voice cracking with fear. At the sound of his voice, one of the aliens lifted her head. She was clearly their leader. She wore flowing robes that sparkled like starlight, and a crown made of the same crystal as the trees. Her large eyes were the color of deep ocean water. She looked at Jiho with an expression of pure terror and awe. The alien leader reached into her robes and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button and suddenly Jiho could understand her words. "Forgive us, Sacred One," she said, her voice shaking. "We did not know. We could not have known. The prophecy. It speaks of you." Jiho looked down at himself. The glowing particles from the night before still clung to his clothes and skin. They pulsed with soft light, making him look like he was covered in tiny stars. "I'm sorry," Jiho said, trying to sound calm. "I don't understand. What prophecy? Who are you people?" The alien leader lifted her head a little higher, but kept her eyes lowered. "I am High Priestess Nari of the Villani Empire. And you are the sacred groom, the one chosen by the sacred pollen of binding." She pointed at the glowing particles on his body. "Once every 1,000 years, the crystal trees release their sacred pollen. It is said that whoever the pollen chooses will become the divine groom, destined to marry Princess Sola, heir to our empire." Jiho stared at her. "Marry? Princess? I think there's been a mistake. I'm just a cargo pilot. My ship crashed here by accident." There are no accidents in the Valley of Eternal Bonds, High Priestess Nari said solemnly. This is the most sacred place in our empire. The trees have stood here for 10,000 years waiting for you. Around them, the other aliens began to whisper among themselves. Jiho caught words like prophecy and human and impossible. He did not like the way some of them were looking at him. A new voice cut through the whispers. It was deep and commanding. This is ridiculous. Tall Villani male stepped forward. He wore the armor of a soldier, with medals and ribbons that marked him as someone important. His tendrils were shorter than the others, and his eyes were hard as stone. I am Captain Woojin Park, commander of the Royal Guard, he said, looking at Jiho with obvious disgust. This creature cannot be the sacred Groom. He is too small, too weak, too primitive. High Priestess Nari turned to face the captain. The sacred pollen does not lie, Captain Park. Look at him. See how it glows upon his skin. The trees have chosen. The trees have made a mistake, Captain Park said firmly. Princess Sola is the most powerful psionicist in the Empire. She can move mountains with her mind. She can bend reality to her will. And you want her to marry this insect? Jiho felt his temper rising. He had been called many things in his life, but never an insect. Hey now, let's keep this civil. I don't want to marry anyone. I just want to fix my ship and go home. You cannot refuse the sacred pollen, High Priestess Nari said. It has bonded with you. To refuse would bring a curse upon our empire that would last 1,000 years. But the princess is already in the tournament of 7 trials, Captain Park protested. 3 mighty champions remain. They have fought for months to win her hand. General Hyunwoo of the Zendari, War Chief Mingyu of the Threx, Lord Jinwoo of our own people. Any one of them would be a worthy husband for Princess Sola. High Priestess Nari nodded sadly. The tournament will continue. But now there must be a 4th champion. The sacred Groom must compete. Jiho felt like the world was spinning around him. Wait. You want me to fight in some kind of tournament? Against alien warriors? I'm a pilot, not a fighter. The sacred pollen has chosen you, the High Priestess repeated. You must be worthy. The trials will prove it. And if I lose? High Priestess Nari and Captain Park exchanged a look. The captain's expression was almost hopeful. If you lose, the High Priestess said quietly, you die. Jiho sat down heavily on the ground. This was not how he had expected his day to go. He had woken up thinking his biggest problem was being stranded on an alien planet. Now he was supposedly chosen by ancient prophecy to marry an alien princess he had never met. And he had to fight deadly warriors to prove he was worthy. Can I at least meet this princess first? He asked. Princess Sola is currently in the arena of trials, Captain Park said with a cruel smile. She is testing the current champions. High Priestess Nari looked worried. The princess is not pleased by this development. She had hoped that Prince Taeho would win the tournament. Prince Taeho? A noble warrior. They have been friends since childhood. The princess cares for him. Jiho rubbed his face with his hands. So let me get this straight. I'm supposed to marry a princess who doesn't want to marry me. I have to fight alien warriors who could probably crush me with one hand. And if I lose, I die. But if I refuse, your entire empire gets cursed. That is correct, High Priestess Nari said. And there's no way out of this? None. Jiho stood up and looked around at all the aliens still kneeling around him. Some looked hopeful. Others looked skeptical. A few looked angry. None of them looked like they were going to let him just walk away. He thought about his ship, broken and useless. He thought about home, so far away he might never see it again. He thought about the medicine he was supposed to deliver and how the people on that mining colony were probably wondering where he was. Then he looked at the glowing particles still clinging to his skin. They pulsed gently, almost like they were trying to comfort him. All right, he said finally. I'll do it. I'll compete in your tournament. But I want to know exactly what I'm getting into. What are these trials? High Priestess Nari smiled for The first time since he had met her. The tournament of 7 trials tests everything that makes a worthy husband for our princess. Combat prowess, wisdom, leadership, sacrifice, spirit, adaptability, and finally, true bonding. True bonding? A psychic connection with Princess Sola herself, the final test of compatibility. Jiho nodded slowly. He had no psychic abilities that he knew of, no special powers, no advanced weapons or armor. He was just a human with a broken ship and a head full of questions. But he was alive, and as long as he was alive, he had a chance. "When do we start?" he asked. Captain Park stepped forward, his hand resting on the weapon at his side. "We leave for the capital city immediately. The tournament continues in 3 days." High Priestess Nari gestured to some of the other aliens. "Prepare transportation for the sacred Groom, and send word to Princess Sola. Tell her the prophesied one has arrived." As the aliens began to move around him, preparing for the journey, Jiho looked back at his broken ship. His old life was over. Whatever came next, there was no going back. The sacred pollen pulsed brighter on his skin, as if responding to his thoughts. Maybe, just maybe, this crazy situation would work out somehow, or maybe he would die trying. Either way, it was going to be interesting. The Villani capital city was unlike anything Jiho had ever seen. Massive towers of living crystal rose into the purple sky, their surfaces flowing and changing like slow water. Flying vehicles moved silently between the buildings. Gardens of impossible flowers hung in the air, defying gravity. But it was the arena that took his breath away. The tournament arena was carved into a mountain. Millions of Villani citizens filled the seats, their glowing skin creating a sea of soft light. In the center was a circular fighting ground the size of 10 football fields. Above it all sat the royal box, where Princess Sola waited. Jiho stood in the preparation chambers beneath the arena, trying not to throw up. Through the walls he could hear the crowd cheering. One of the other champions was fighting right now. "Nervous?" asked a voice behind him. Jiho turned around. A young Villani male sat in the corner, working on some kind of mechanical device. Unlike the others Jiho had met, this one wore simple work clothes instead of fancy robes. Terrified, Jiho admitted. "I'm Jiho." "Dongha," the young alien said with a smile. "I fix things. Mostly broken equipment for the arena. Not supposed to talk to champions, but..." He shrugged. "What are they fighting out there?" Dongha listened to the crowd noise. "Holographic beasts. First trial is combat prowess. You fight 3 creatures that get harder and harder. Most champions use energy weapons or psychic powers. What do you use when you don't have either?" Dongha looked at him with curiosity. "You really are just a regular person, aren't you? Not some secret warrior pretending to be weak? Just a cargo pilot who crashed in the wrong place." Dongha thought for a moment. "What did you carry in your ship? Any tools? Weapons?" Jiho shook his head. "Medical supplies, some basic repair tools. Nothing fancy." "Show me." They went to where Jiho's few belongings sat in a pile. Dongha examined everything carefully. He picked up a small device that Jiho used to weld broken pipes. "This could work," Dongha said. "And this." He held up a can of liquid that Jiho used to clean engine parts. "Very slippery. And this." A roll of strong tape for patching holes. "You want me to fight alien monsters with cleaning fluid and tape? You want to win, don't you?" Before Jiho could answer, the crowd erupted in cheers. Through the chamber walls, they heard an announcer's voice booming across the arena. "War Chief Mingyu of the Threx Collective is victorious. 3 beasts defeated in record time." Dongha winced. "Mingyu has 4 arms and moves faster than lightning. His exoskeleton can stop energy blasts." "Great," Jiho muttered. Next to fight, General Hyunwoo of the Zendari. Jiho had heard about General Hyunwoo. The Zendari were made of living crystal, and Hyunwoo could control gravity itself. He had once crushed an entire enemy fleet just by thinking about it. The sounds of battle echoed through the mountain. Roars, energy blasts, the crowd gasping and cheering. It lasted only minutes before the announcer spoke again. General Hyunwoo advances. The beasts never touched him. Gravity control, Dong-ha explained. He probably just made them too heavy to move, then crushed them. This keeps getting better, Jiho said. Next, Lord Jinwoo of the Noble Houses. Lord Jinwoo was Villani nobility. He had been training for combat his entire life. His psychic powers could create solid constructs out of pure thought. Swords, shields, entire armies if he wanted. Again, the battle was over quickly. The crowd loved him. And now, the announcer's voice boomed. Competing by ancient right as the sacred groom chosen by prophecy, the human Jiho Kim. The crowd went silent. Then came the whispers. Then the boos and angry shouts. They don't like humans much, do they? Jiho asked. They've never seen one before, Dong-ha said. You're small and weak-looking, no psychic powers, no natural weapons. To them, you're like a pet trying to compete with predators. Thanks for the confidence boost. Dong-ha grabbed Jiho's arm. Listen. To me. You can't fight like them. Don't try. Fight like a human, whatever that means. Jiho walked through the tunnel toward the arena floor, carrying his improvised weapons. The noise hit him like a wall. Hundreds of thousands of aliens, all staring at him. Most looked confused, some looked angry. A few looked curious. In the royal box, he saw Princess Sola for the first time. She was beautiful, but not in a human way. Tall and elegant like all Villani, but there was power in every line of her body. Her tendrils moved constantly, never still. Her eyes glowed with inner fire. When she looked at him, Jiho felt like she could see right through him. Next to her sat a young Villani male with the bearing of a warrior. That had to be Prince Taiho. He was watching Jiho with obvious hatred. Citizens of the Villani Empire, the announcer continued, witness the first trial, combat prowess. The arena floor shimmered and suddenly Jiho was standing in a jungle environment. Thick vines hung from massive trees. Strange sounds echoed from the shadows. A growl came from behind him. Jiho spun around and came face to face with his first opponent. It looked like a cross between a tiger and a dragon with razor-sharp claws and teeth like swords. Its eyes glowed red with hunger. The creature pounced. Jiho rolled to the side, barely avoiding the claws. The other champions had stood their ground and blasted their enemies with power, but Jiho didn't have power. He had to be smarter. He ran toward the thick jungle vines, the beast close behind him. At the last second, he dove and rolled. The creature crashed into the vines and got tangled up. While it struggled, Jiho pulled out his cleaning fluid and sprayed it on the ground around the beast. The creature broke free and charged again. This time it slipped on the slick surface and went sliding past Jiho. He activated his welding tool and used it like a sword, striking at the beast's eyes. The creature roared and backed away, temporarily blinded. Jiho used the strong tape to create a tripwire between two trees. When the beast charged again, it got tangled up. While it was down, Jiho found a heavy branch and finished the job. The crowd was silent. This was not how champions were supposed to fight. The second creature was worse. Part snake, part spider with poison dripping from its fangs. It was faster and smarter than the first, but Jiho was learning. He used the environment, setting traps, creating distractions. When the creature tried to corner him, he climbed up into the trees where it couldn't follow easily. He dropped branches on it, used his tools to create smoke and confusion, and slowly wore it down. The third creature was the worst yet. It was huge, armored with multiple heads that could attack from different directions. The other champions would have destroyed it with raw power. Jiho ran. The crowd booed. Princess Sola leaned forward, frowning. But Jiho wasn't running away. He was running toward something he had spotted earlier, a fallen tree hanging over a deep pit. He led the creature onto the log, then used his welding tool to cut through the wood. The massive beast fell into the pit. Jiho quickly used his remaining supplies to create a fire at the bottom, smoking it out. When the trial ended, the arena was completely quiet. No cheers, no boos, just confused silence. The human advances, the announcer said, sounding surprised. In The royal box Princess Sola was leaning forward, studying Jiho with new interest. Prince Taiho looked furious. Back in the preparation chamber, Dongha was grinning. That was amazing. I've never seen anyone fight like that. I nearly died 3 times, Jiho gasped, collapsing into a chair. But you didn't. You used your brain instead of your muscles. You made them fight on your terms, not theirs. Jiho looked up at the ceiling, still hearing the confused murmurs of the crowd above. 1 trial down, 6 to go. The next trial is wisdom, Dongha said. Solving impossible puzzles. The other champions will use their psychic abilities and advanced computing systems. What will I use? Dongha smiled. Whatever humans use when they need to figure something out. That brain of yours seems to work differently than ours. Jiho nodded, slowly. He was beginning to understand something. He couldn't compete with aliens on their terms. Their technology was better. Their natural abilities were stronger. Their knowledge was deeper. But maybe he didn't need to. Maybe being human was enough. In the royal box above, Princess Sola was still watching the preparation chambers, her glowing eyes thoughtful. For the first time since the tournament began, she was curious about one of her potential husbands. This human was different. Weak, yes. Small, yes. But he had survived when he should have died, and he had done it without any of the advantages the other champions possessed. Maybe there was more to this sacred groom than anyone realized. The tournament was just beginning. The second trial began at dawn. The wisdom trial took place in a crystal chamber deep beneath the arena. 4 pedestals stood in the center, each holding a different puzzle. The champions would have 1 hour to solve as many as possible. Jiho studied the other competitors as they prepared. General Hyunwoo's crystal body was already glowing with calculation power. War Chief Mingyu had connected additional computing devices to his forearms. Lord Jinwoo was meditating, preparing to use his psychic abilities to see beyond normal logic. And then there was Jiho, with nothing but a human brain and a stubborn refusal to give up. The first puzzle was a cube covered in symbols that changed every few seconds. General Hyunwoo approached it and began calculating probability chains at superhuman speed. His crystal form pulsed with each computation. Jiho looked at the same cube and tried a different approach. Instead of trying to calculate all possibilities, he watched for patterns. Humans were good at seeing patterns, even when they didn't understand the underlying logic. The symbols weren't random, they were telling a story. A very old story about the founding of the Villani Empire. Jiho pressed the symbols in the order the story should be told. The cube opened, revealing a glowing crystal inside. General Hyunwoo stopped calculating and stared. His mathematical approach had failed, but the human's intuitive method had worked. The Yuan second puzzle was even stranger. It was a room full of floating objects that had to be arranged in perfect harmony. Lord Jinwoo used his psychic powers to move them into mathematical formations based on Villani philosophy. War Chief Mingyu used his forearms and Threx logic systems to create geometric patterns. Jiho just looked at the objects and tried to imagine what would make them happy. It was a silly human thought, but humans often thought about making things happy. He arranged them like he was decorating a room for friends to enjoy. Somehow, it worked. The objects glowed with satisfaction and the puzzle was solved. Lord Jinwoo and War Chief Mingyu both failed their approaches. The crowd watching through crystal screens was getting confused. How was this primitive human solving puzzles that stumped advanced alien minds? The third puzzle was the hardest yet. A maze that existed in 7 dimensions, with paths that changed based on the solver's thoughts. It was designed to test the deepest levels of alien consciousness. General Hyunwoo, Lord Jinwoo, and War Chief Mingyu all entered the maze with confidence. They used advanced techniques taught in the greatest schools of the galaxy. Jiho entered the maze and immediately got lost, but instead of panicking, he did something very human. He started talking to the maze. "Okay," he said out loud. "I don't understand you, and you probably don't understand me. But we're both stuck here, so maybe we can help each other. The maze shimmered around him. I'm just trying to get through this tournament so I can go home, Jiho continued, walking slowly forward. I don't really want to marry a princess I've never met, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to marry me either. But everyone says there's some prophecy, and if I don't try, bad things will happen to a lot of good people. The walls of the maze began to glow softly. So what do you think? Can you help a lost human find his way? The maze rearranged itself, creating a clear path to the exit. Jiho walked through, still talking. Thanks, I owe you one. When he emerged, he found that he was the only one who had solved the maze. The other champions were still wandering inside, using their advanced techniques and getting nowhere. High Priestess Nari, who was observing the trials, looked troubled. This should not be possible, she whispered to Captain Park. The human is cheating somehow, the captain replied, but he didn't sound convinced. The fourth trial was leadership. Each champion was given command of a simulated army and had to win a battle against overwhelming odds. General Hyun Woo commanded through fear and superior tactics. War Chief Ming Yu used the brutal efficiency of the Threx war machine. Lord Jin Woo inspired his troops with noble speeches about duty and honor. Jiho took a different approach. He talked to his soldiers like they were people, not weapons. He asked about their families. He learned their names. He listened to their ideas and made them partners in planning the battle. When the enemy attacked, Jiho's army fought harder than any of the others, not because they feared their commander or worshipped him, but because they knew he cared about them as individuals. The simulation ended with Jiho's forces achieving total victory despite being outnumbered 3-1. Impossible, Captain Park muttered. No one fights that hard for a stranger. But High Priestess Nari was beginning to understand. Unless the stranger makes them feel like they are not strangers anymore. The fifth trial was sacrifice. Each champion faced a situation where they had to choose between personal victory and saving innocent lives. General Hyun-woo calculated the logical choice. Save the many, sacrifice the few. War Chief Ming-yu chose based on Threx honor codes. Protect the strong, let the weak learn to survive. Lord Jinwoo made the noble choice. Save those who could serve the Empire best. Jiho didn't calculate or follow codes or think about the Empire. He saw people in danger and tried to save them all. Every single one. Even when it seemed impossible. Even when it cost him the trial victory. Even when the simulation was designed to make it impossible to save everyone. But humans were stubborn about impossible things. Jiho found ways to bend the rules, to think outside the simulation's parameters. He turned enemies into allies. He made tools out of debris. He refused to accept that anyone had to die. And somehow, impossibly, he saved them all. The crowd was silent again. This was not how the trials were supposed to work. The sixth trial was spirit, resisting mental attacks and maintaining one's sense of self under extreme pressure. The other champions used meditation techniques, mental shields, and psychic defenses, learned over lifetimes of training. Jiho had none of those things. When the mental attacks began, they hit him full force. His mind was filled with fear, doubt, and despair. He saw visions of failure, of his ship exploding, of everyone he had ever cared about dying because of his weakness. But instead of fighting the visions, Jiho did something unexpected. He accepted them. Yes, he said to the attacking minds, I am weak. I am small. I am far from home and scared out of my mind. I don't belong here, and I don't know what I'm doing. The mental attacks paused, confused. But I'm still here, Jiho continued. I'm still trying. I'm still me. And that has to be enough, because it's all I have. The attacks resumed, stronger than before. But they couldn't break someone who had already admitted to being broken. They couldn't defeat someone who had already accepted defeat and chosen to keep going anyway. Jiho walked through the mental storm like it was a gentle rain. When all 6 trials were complete, the results were announced to a stunned crowd. All 4 champions had advanced, but the human had performed better than anyone expected. In the royal box, Princess Sola was no longer just curious. She was fascinated. He fights without power, she murmured to herself. He solves puzzles without logic. He leads without commanding. He sacrifices without calculating. He endures without defending. Prince Taiho heard her and felt a cold fear in his heart. He is still just a human, Sola, weak and primitive. But Princess Sola was studying the human through the crystal screens, watching him talk and laugh with the mechanic Dongha like they were old friends. Is he? She asked. Or is he something we have never seen before? Down in the preparation chambers, Jiho was indeed laughing with Dongha, despite his exhaustion. 6 trials down, Dongha said. 1 to go. True bonding with Princess Sola herself. What's that like? Jiho asked. Dongha's expression grew serious. A psychic connection, mind to mind. She will see everything you are, and you will see everything she is. It tests compatibility at the deepest level, and if we're not compatible, then the connection fails and you are rejected. The princess marries whoever she is compatible with. Jiho nodded. And if she's not compatible with any of us? That has never happened before. Jiho looked up toward where he knew the royal box, was thinking about the princess he had only seen from a distance. She had power beyond his understanding. She had been raised to rule an empire. What could a cargo pilot possibly have to offer someone like that? But he had made it this far by being himself, by doing things the human way. Maybe that would be enough for one more trial, or maybe it wouldn't. Either way, he would find out soon. In the royal box above, Princess Sola was thinking similar thoughts. Tomorrow, she would have to choose a husband from among 4 champions. 3 aliens with power, knowledge, and noble bloodlines, and 1 human who had somehow made it this far by being nothing like them at all. For the first time in her life, Princess Sola was not sure what the right choice would be. And that uncertainty both frightened and excited her in ways she had never expected. The 7th and final trial took place in the sacred chamber at the heart of the royal palace. Unlike the public spectacle of the earlier trials, this would be witnessed only by Princess Sola and the highest priests of the empire. Jiho stood in the crystal chamber, nervous sweat making his hands slippery. Around him, the other 3 champions waited in meditation poses. General Hyunwoo's crystal body glowed with patient light. War Chief Mingyu's forearms moved in ritual gestures. Lord Jinwoo whispered ancient prayers under his breath. They all knew what was coming. The true bonding, a complete psychic connection with Princess Sola. For most Villani, it was the deepest form of intimacy possible. For aliens with psychic abilities, it was a test of power and compatibility. For a human, with no psychic abilities at all, it might be impossible. Princess Sola entered the chamber and Jiho's breath caught in his throat. She was even more beautiful up close, but there was something else. A sadness in her glowing eyes. A weight on her shoulders that seemed too heavy for anyone to carry alone. Champions, she said, her voice echoing in the crystal space. Today, we complete the ancient ritual. One by one, you will attempt to bond with my mind. Whoever proves most compatible will become my husband and partner in ruling this empire. High Priestess Nari stepped forward. The bonding will test not just compatibility, but the strength of your psychic abilities. The princess possesses power beyond measure. Her mind is like standing in the heart of a star. Many have tried to bond with her before. All have failed. Jiho felt his stomach drop. All have failed? Princess Sola's power is so great that most minds cannot withstand contact with hers, the High Priestess explained. That is why the tournament was created, to find someone strong enough to be her equal. Prince Taiho stepped out from behind a pillar. Jiho had forgotten he would be here as a witness. Sola, Prince Taiho said softly, you know that Lord Jinwoo is the wisest choice. He has trained his entire life for this moment. Princess Sola nodded, but she was looking at Jiho. We shall see what the bonding reveals. General Hyunwoo went first. He approached Princess Sola and placed his crystal hands on her temples. The chamber filled with light as their minds connected. For a moment it seemed to work. General Hyunwoo's crystal body pulsed with shared power, but then the light grew too bright, too intense. The general stumbled backward, his form cracking under the strain. "I cannot," he gasped. "Her mind is too vast, too powerful. I am not strong enough." War Chief Mingyu tried next. His Threx mental training allowed him to last longer, but the result was the same. Princess Sola's psychic energy overwhelmed his defenses. He collapsed to his knees, all forearms shaking. "Forgive me, Princess," he whispered. "I am not worthy." "Lord," Jinwoo approached with confidence. He had known Princess Sola since childhood. He had trained with the greatest psychic masters in the Empire. Surely he would succeed where the others had failed. The bonding began beautifully. Their minds touched, with familiar warmth. Lord Jinwoo's psychic abilities were strong enough to withstand Princess Sola's power. For a long moment it seemed like they would be compatible. But then Jiho saw Princess Sola's expression change. The warmth faded from her eyes. She pulled back from the connection. "I'm sorry, Jinwoo," she said quietly. "You are strong enough." But, Lord Jinwoo asked. "But you want to control my power, not share it. In the bonding I felt your desire to use my abilities for your own glory. That is not partnership, that is domination." Lord Jinwoo's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "I would rule wisely. I would bring honor to the Empire. By making me a tool in your hands, no." Princess Sola turned away from him. "The bonding does not lie. We are not compatible." Now only Jiho remained. He walked slowly toward the princess, his heart hammering against his ribs. "I should warn you," Princess Sola said softly, so only he could hear. "My power has destroyed minds before. Strong minds, trained minds. You have no psychic abilities at all. This could kill you." Jiho looked into her glowing eyes and saw something that surprised him. Fear. She was afraid of hurting him. "Your Highness," he said, "can I ask you something?" "What?" "Are you tired?" The question caught her off guard. Tired? All that power, all that responsibility, all those people depending on you, all those minds trying to control you or use you or prove they're strong enough to handle you. Aren't you tired of it? Princess Sola stared at him. No one had ever asked her that before. "Yes," she whispered. "I am so very tired." Jiho nodded. "Then maybe just for this moment you could stop being powerful. Stop being a princess, stop being responsible for everyone and everything, just be Sola." "I don't understand." "In the bonding, don't try to test me. Don't try to overwhelm me. Don't try to prove anything. Just be yourself. The real you, underneath all that power." Princess Sola hesitated. "But the ritual requires bonding. It doesn't say it has to be a contest." Jiho reached out his hands. "Trust me?" Princess Sola looked around the chamber. Everyone was watching. High Priestess Nari, Captain Park, Prince Taiho, all expecting her to follow tradition, to test this human's worthiness with overwhelming power. Instead, she placed her hands in Jiho's. The bonding began differently than the others. Instead of a flood of power, there was gentleness. Princess Sola opened her mind slowly, carefully, letting Jiho see who she really was. And what Jiho found there amazed him. Yes, she had incredible power. But underneath it all, she was lonely. So terribly lonely. Everyone saw the princess, the ruler, the weapon. No one saw Sola, the person who liked to watch sunrise over the crystal gardens, who worried about the common people in the streets, who sometimes cried herself to sleep because the weight of the empire felt too heavy to bear. In return, Jiho let her see his mind. His memories of Earth, of flying cargo runs to help people he would never meet. His love of fixing broken things. His simple desire to make life a little better for whoever he encountered. Princess Sola felt something she had never experienced before. Peace. Jiho's mind wasn't trying to dominate hers or prove itself worthy. It was simply offering itself, as a safe harbor, a quiet place where she could rest from the storm of her own power. How? She whispered, their minds still connected. How can you give me peace when you have no power yourself? Maybe that's why, Jiho replied through the bond. I can't control your power, so I don't want to. I can't use it, so I don't need to. I can just appreciate the person who has it. Their connection deepened. Princess Sola let her true self emerge. Not the perfect princess or the ultimate weapon, but a young woman who wanted to do right by her people and find someone who understood her. Jiho let her feel his genuine care, his respect, his desire to support her not because of her power but in spite of it. He showed her his vision of partnership, not one person controlling the other, but two people helping each other be their best selves. The bonding completed with a gentle pulse of shared warmth. When they separated, Princess Sola was crying. But she was smiling too. The bond is complete, High Priestess Nari announced, her voice filled with wonder. Perfect compatibility. Princess Sola and the sacred Groom are truly matched. The chamber erupted in whispers. This was not what anyone had expected. Prince Taiho stepped forward, his face dark with anger. This is impossible. He has no power, no noble blood, no training. He is nothing. Princess Sola turned to face him, and for the first time in her life, she spoke with complete confidence in her personal choice. He is everything I never knew I needed, she said. Someone who sees me, not my power. Someone who wants to lift me up, not use me up. Someone who offers peace instead of demanding control. She took Jiho's hand. If you'll have me, Jiho Kim, of Earth I choose you as my husband and partner. Jiho squeezed her hand gently. I choose you too, Sola of the Villani. Not as a princess, but as the amazing person you are underneath all that royal responsibility. Captain Park stepped forward. Princess, surely you cannot be serious. The Empire needs strength, power. This human cannot protect you. The Empire needs wisdom, Princess Sola replied firmly. It needs compassion. It needs someone who thinks of people as individuals, not statistics. Jiho has shown all of these qualities. High Priestess Nari nodded slowly. The sacred pollen chose well. The tournament has revealed truth. Over the following days, news of the humans' victory spread throughout the Empire. Some were angry, some were confused, but others, especially the common people, were hopeful. In the weeks before the wedding, Jiho worked with Princess Sola to understand the Empire's problems. He didn't try to solve them with power or royal decrees. Instead, he listened to people. He learned about their lives, their struggles, their hopes. Slowly, Princess Sola began to see her empire differently. Through Jiho's eyes, she saw not subjects to be ruled, but people to be served. Chancellor Kyungho, who had profited from the old system of rigid hierarchy, watched these changes with growing alarm. He began to plot against the human who threatened his power, but that is a story for another day. The wedding took place under the light of the twin moons, in the same valley where Jiho had first crashed. Representatives from dozens of species came to witness the union between the most powerful psionicist in the galaxy and the human cargo pilot who had won her heart with kindness instead of strength.